NWEA MAP alignments can help you drive student learning and growth. Throughout today's session, if you have specific questions, please use the Q&A box and one of my colleagues will be happy to assist. We will try to answer as many of your questions as we can during the 30-minute webinar, and also encourage you to take a look into the Q&A box to see if your question was answered previously. If you do have additional questions, please reach out to your account manager or IXL's help desk at help@ixl.com for further assistance. Before we begin today's session, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Laval, and I'm a professional learning specialist with IXL. Prior to joining IXL, I was a classroom teacher for over 13 years. And within that time, I taught all grade levels of secondary math from 6th through 12th grade. In addition, I used IXL in my classroom along with the NWEA MAP. And this resulted in my students having the highest grades in the school for multiple years in a row. I hope to provide you today with some strategies so that you can see these amazing results with your students. So let's talk about IXL. IXL is personalized learning, and personalized learning is really complex, but IXL makes it simple for teachers to implement effectively in their classrooms. IXL is built on 3 components: a continuous diagnostic, comprehensive K-12 curriculum, and actionable real-time analytics. Components are fully integrated and work together seamlessly to give teachers everything they need to differentiate instruction and help students grow. Now for teachers, IXL is a platform that makes differentiation more efficient and effective. We have comprehensive curriculum from pre-K to 12th grade with personalized targeted guidance built in so that you can reach every student at the right level and help them grow. For students, IXL drives engagement in an authentic way. We encourage students to own their learning, embrace new challenges, and build skills and confidence that last. I want to turn our attention towards the NWEA MAP growth assessment and just talk about some of the background information prior to jumping into our new alignment. So the NWEA MAP growth test is designed to measure a student's overall achievement. It's also a representation of student growth over the time, which provides the teacher, students, and parents the visual representation of student achievement over the time each student has taken the MAP assessment. It also shows data comparing the student's overall achievement to that of research norms for their grade level and subject. And also the questions are adaptive, so similar to IXL skills and diagnostic, and that question rigor and grade level increases and decreases based on how the students answer the questions. When students take the MAP test, they receive what's called a RIT score. Let's take a deeper dive into this score to understand how it correlates with student achievement. So RIT stands for Roush Unit, which is a measurement scale developed to simplify the interpretation of test scores. MAP growth uses the RIT scale to help you measure and compare academic growth. Specifically, the scale measures the levels in academic difficulty. The RIT scale extends equally across all grades. This makes it possible to compare a student's score at various points throughout his or her education. The RIT score represents the level where a student is ready to learn. This is also known as the zone of proximal development. A student's RIT score means that the student is about 50% likely to answer questions correctly at that level. And therefore, topics at this RIT level are likely to be topics the student is ready to learn. Now, the test finds this level by pinpointing where a student would just as likely answer questions incorrectly as correctly. So the point between knowing and not knowing the answers. It's also important to understand that there is no maximum or perfect score on a MAP growth test. So once a student takes the MAP growth test, they receive 2 different reports, the student progress or the student profile report. So the student progress report is what we're looking at now. And this is going to show the overall RIT score and the comparison over time. So as I previously mentioned, MAP is going to show comparative data. So this blue bar here is going to represent their score since they first started taking the MAP test. The orange is the district grade level mean RIT, and the yellow is the normed grade level RIT. Then the dashed line over here is going to represent the student's projected score for the next time they take the assessment. In the chart over here to the right, you can see the progression of growth over time to uncover even more insight on that student and how they've improved since they started taking the MAP test. Now, the student progress is also broken down by instructional areas, so you can see their relative strengths and then where they may need some additional foundational instruction. Now, the student profile will show the student's RIT score broken down by the 4 instructional areas. So teachers can use the instructional areas module within the student profile to really see where they need to focus their instruction for that student. This report is going to be an essential tool when using IXL's NWEA MAP alignment, as students' RIT ranges and broken them down into the instructional areas. This is to further personalize learning for every student. Remember, our students' overall score was a 228, and that's just going to be an average of these instructional areas. So having the scores broken down allows you to really target the specific skills in each instructional area. Now, once a teacher has a student's RIT score, NWEA is going to translate these into learning statements. And NWEA will provide teachers with access to the learning continuum, which translates the students' overall RIT scores to learning statements. This is so you can set student goals and tailor instruction to meet student needs. The learning continuum is going to have 2 views, the test view and the class view. The test view is the view we're looking at now, and this is going to show skills and concepts for all RIT bands. In this view, we see which skills and concepts need to be reinforced, developed, and introduced based on the RIT score. So as you can see within this particular report, I have broken it down into the real and complex number systems and performing operations. And from there, it's divided into 3 categories. The reinforced categories is for learning statements in the RIT band that's just below where a student score. You know these concepts, but you can reinforce them. The middle column here is the developing stage. This is where a student scored and what they should be working on now. Now, if you remember, our sample students' overall RIT score is a 228. So according to the learning continuum, they should be working on skills within this 221 to 230 range. Now you'll see that with IXL's NWEA MAP alignment, we have taken these ranges and narrowed it down into even more specific learning statements and skills that the student is ready to learn. And then finally, the right column is that introducing. So these are just above where a student scored, and those potential skills to introduce when a student is ready for a challenge. The class view is the other view of the MAP learning continuum, and this is going to match students to learning statements within their RIT range. So this view helps with finding skills to assign to groups of students who are working within the same range. So as you can see, MAP and NWEA is providing the teachers and students with the learning statements that are tailored to a student's overall RIT score. Then IXL is going to provide the actual formative practice and analytics for monitoring student achievement on those skills. IXL's MAP alignment is a simple document that makes it easy for teachers, students, and parents to navigate and understand. It has taken the guesswork out of how to use a student's RIT score and provided teachers and students with just a simple way to support students in their individual student growth. So as I mentioned before, IXL has taken the learning continuum and broken it down into even smaller RIT score ranges. This is to ensure students are working on the exact right skills for them right now. IXL really is the perfect tool to support you in seeing student growth. So let's now dive into IXL's MAP alignment and how you can use it to support student growth. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate here to the Inspiration tab. Now, when students are logged in, they will not see the Inspiration tab, but anybody has access to the Inspiration tab when they're logged out. Now, teachers, you have access to this Inspiration tab at any time, whether you're logged in or out. So once I click on the Inspiration tab, I'm going to navigate now to where it says IXL Alignments. And from IXL Alignments, I'm going to go to Test Preparation Alignments, and our NWEA Map Growth Alignment will be right here. Now you notice we have alignments for the math test, the 3 different tests that are offered, the K through 2, 2 through 5, and the 6 and up. So I'm going to show you again how to navigate to this alignment. Simply go to the Inspiration tab, IXL Alignments, and Test Preparation Alignments. So I'm going to jump into our 6 and plus because that's where our sample student, the grade level and the test that the sample student took. So if you remember, our student had an overall RIT score of a 228. And according to the learning continuum, any student working within the range of a 221 to 230 should be working on the same skill. So we've broken down the RIT into smaller intervals, and this is to target specific skills the students should be working on. So our range is going to go from a 221 to a 230, but broken down into different categories with really targeted skills for those particular students. Now, if we look even deeper into the alignment, notice it's broken down also by instructional areas. So this student could work in each instructional area on the 228 level, but may not be successful on those particular skills. So we recommend using the RIT scores by instructional areas to ensure students are working on the skills that they're ready for instruction on today. Now, for example, our student scored a 223 in the area of the real and complex number system. If we had him on the skills and his overall level of a 228, he'd be working well above the skills he's ready for. So really having the RIT scores broken down by instructional areas ensures the student is working on the appropriate skills. Now, if a student is struggling with a skill within their current RIT range, or if their scores may be on the border, you can encourage them to work on the skills in the RIT range. This is to support them in the foundational knowledge so they can move forward. In addition, to challenge students, encourage them when they complete the skills within their range to work on the skills within the next range of the alignment. Now, I have had a lot of questions from teachers of what if my student who took the 6 and plus test has a score below 20? How do I support them? Well, you simply would have them go into the 2 through 5 alignment, find their RIT score, and those would be the skills that student would be ready for instruction. So let's jump in here and take a look at the operations and algebraic thinking for our RIT score of a 230 plus. That's where our student was. So the alignment is set up to take students directly to each of the skills. So with just one simple click from the alignment, your students can be working on the skills that are just right for them. So if I click here on the RIT score of 230 plus, notice it's going to take me directly to those skills that my student is ready for. So if my student is working on this skill here, 8th grade, Y.5, graph a line using slope, you can simply click on this here directly from the alignment, and it takes you to our live site. The student can log in, and as you see, it takes you directly to our targeted skills. And our skills are designed to be truly adaptive. So at every step of the way, students will be supported, challenged, and motivated at the right level. And this special blend is what inspires every student to really keep working towards their full potential. So let's take a look at this skill together so you can see what I'm talking about. But first, I do want to point out our new Learn by Example. So our new example questions and solutions really give students the chance to receive a guided walkthrough before they begin working on a new skill. And IXL is going to provide students with a reminder of key ideas and step-by-step instruction on how to successfully answer an example question. So with this detailed support at hand, students can feel more confident when approaching a new skill on IXL within their RIT score range. So now that we've looked at this new example question, let's go ahead and answer a few of these questions. As you can see, I'm getting that positive feedback that I did that question correct. It's also going to count how many questions I've answered, how much time I've spent and give me points towards my SMART score. Again, same thing, giving me that positive feedback so that I know that I'm going through these skills in the correct way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens if I miss the question?
Yes.
So IXL
Yes,
is
I
also
did
going to
today.
provide the students with a guided walkthrough of this particular
Yep.
question, but it's going to be an explanation that's specific to this question. So this is really going to provide the support as they work through the recommended skills within the RIT score. Because if you remember, these skills, these are the skills that students will answer correctly 50% of the time. So with this built-in guidance, this reminder, and these step-by-step on how to solve this, students are going to be supported at just the right level to ensure that they are truly understanding and truly showing their growth. So now that you've seen how valuable our map alignment is and how our skills supports the students with built-in guidance, let's discuss some strategies for implementing this resource into your daily lessons to support you in seeing student growth. So within my classroom, we had monthly goal setting meetings with my students. So within those meetings, I had my students create their own goal setting sheets and an action plan by just finding skills within IXL to support their individual growth. So now these were skills that we got directly from that learning continuum and translated it from their overall RIT score. So knowing now that students can actually have their RIT score broken down by instructional areas, and those skills are even in smaller ranges, I can only imagine the growth that I would see with my students. Because right now, students can simply use IXL's map alignment as a guide to which skills they should be working on by instructional area. And students' action plans, we just broke them down into maybe 2 to 3 skills per week that they could be working on in addition to their daily learning objectives in class. So these personalized learning plans, think of different ways that you could use them for bell work or early finishers. You always know that students are going to be working on the right skills for them. In addition, you can ask them to work on it for homework or even during an enrichment or an intervention class. Now, the alignment can also be a valuable tool for small group instruction and even creating leveled grouping within the classroom. This is so students can support one another as they're working through the same skills. You could also consider doing a whole class engagement. For example, a Map Skills Monday, where maybe the last 15 to 20 minutes of class, all students are working on their own skills within their RIT range. Now, it's important to remember to set those appropriate SMART score goals for your students. So going back, if you remember, our SMART score does range from a 0 to 100, but it's not a percentage. On IXL, a SMART score of an 80 is considered proficient, a 90 is excellence, and 100 indicates mastery. And I'm going to say that again because that's very essential for setting those goals. So a SMART score of 80 is proficient, 90 is excellence, and 100 indicates mastery. So you could really think of mastery as an A+. And knowing that not all students are A+ students, I would suggest that you consider setting SMART score goals of proficiency, maybe a SMART score of an 80, on the skills students are working on within their RIT range. So as we've seen, IXL's map alignment and our highly targeted skills make it easy to support students in their instructional growth. So now I want to take a look at some strategies on taking instructional action and monitoring student progress with IXL's analytics. Now, once your students begin working on IXL skills that are aligned to their RIT scores, you can use IXL's analytics to monitor their progress. So let's take a look at a couple of the reports and the insights it provides you on students' work. I'm going to slide it over to my teacher account and sign in, and it's going to take me directly to analytics. So if I wanted to my students' progress towards their personalized action plans, I went straight to the students' quick view report. So the students' quick view is going to give you a great overhead view of your students' work on IXL. In addition to being able to see how and where your students are spending their time, You can scan your entire roster to find students whose practice you may be wondering about or want to learn more about, and uncover those insights on their progress with their recommended MAP growth skills. So as you can see here up at the very top, you do have the ability to filter this report to meet your needs. You can filter by class, subject, skill grades if you just want to focus on a particular grade, or even date range. So if you remember, I mentioned those MAP skills Monday. If I did want to just look at the Monday prior, I can simply just look at that start date of Monday the 6th here, make that my end date, and see exactly what my students were working on within their recommended range. I can also just look at weeks, months, days, or any other time that I want to. Now, if I look at this overhead view, I see now how many questions my students have answered, the time spent, and how many skills my students have made progress in. Now, this graph here is one of my favorites because I can simply hover over any information, the blue being home and the green being school, and I can see exactly how many questions my students are answering and who is answering those questions at home versus at school. So now if I see Dorian answered quite a few questions at home and at school that particular day, and I didn't necessarily have him working on IXL during school time, I could now go and look into Dorian's detail report and see exactly what he was working on. If I want to look into Dorian, I can now scroll down here to find him, or I can simply look down here into my students. So now, when I look at my students, here I can see their name, how many questions they've answered, the progress of their SMART scores, and the skills that they were working on. Now, it does say that Dorian on this particular skill, adding and subtracting mixed numbers with like denominators, is in a trouble spot. And I'm going to talk about trouble spots in just a minute, but what I want to do right now is find out some more information on what Dorian was really working on. So I can simply click his name, and this now takes me to the student details report. So now this is going to be a deep dive into an individual student's practice patterns and performance. So this is for students that you'd like to spend a little extra time with. It's just a great starting point for understanding what they've been working on lately and how they've been progressing. So this report was really of great value when goal setting for NWEA MAP, based on their performance on the skills within their RIT range. Because what I could do now is with that student individually, or I could even just kind of take a peek and see what they were doing, I was able to look at the exact day and time and skill that they were working on. And not only that, I was able to see how many questions they answered in this session, how many of those questions they missed, and the progress of their SMART score. Now going in deeper, now I actually saw a preview of the questions that they received. So now I have a lot of information about ways to maybe help Dorian and what he was really working on this particular day. Now, if I want to go back to Monday and see what he was working on, I can just scroll down here and look at any of those days that Dorian was working, simply click on those and see exactly what skills he was working on. So this is just a great way to monitor exactly what your students are doing, and then ways to really help them and monitor their progress to help them set goals. So now I want to transition over to my personal favorite report. And I mentioned trouble spots earlier. So we're going to go into our trouble spots report, because this report is really just an essential tool for addressing student needs efficiently. It truly helps you allocate your time to help the greatest number of students possible. So if you remember, the skills within a student's RIT score will have questions students will likely answer correctly 50% of the time. So we can expect that some students may struggle while working on these skills. So this report is actually going to show what students are stuck on. In IXL, we call those trouble spots. So being stuck means that you've answered 3 or more questions wrong in a particular step and just haven't been able to get past it. So this report is actually going to show you the students who are stuck, what skill they're stuck on, how many students are stuck, and the actual students who are stuck. So as I hover over, you can see their current SMART score, how many questions they've missed from this item type. And as you can see, Aiden's missed 10 questions, whereas Gage has missed 3. So Aiden's been in this trouble for quite some time. But if I have a class of 25 students and 12 of them need help on this particular skill within IXL, what I can do is ask kids to come to the front. And I know this is a skill that they'll need to work on those manipulatives with, maybe stacking Legos or stacking blocks or doing a different strategy than what was initially taught. And the rest of the students in the class can be working on their personalized action plan while I'm working with these students on making sure that they understand and can overcome their trouble spots. So the trouble report also provides the teacher with strategies on how to help students, because what we're going to do is provide the teachers with actual questions that a student received, that these students received and missed. So these can be the sample questions that you go over during your small group tiered instruction. Now, if you want to do an even smaller group of students, you can simply scroll down and find ways to help 5 or more. So this is how to help 9 students, and even how to help 6 students. So as you can see, we're really targeting those students who are in trouble spots to make sure that you have those strategies necessary to really help them move forward and help them grow. And really a report that I used on a daily basis so that I really knew exactly which students needed support and then strategies on how to support them. So as we wrap up today, I just want to point out that IXL really is the most valuable tool in supporting you and seeing your students' learning growth. Our new alignments make it simple for teachers to support students at their current level to help them grow. And IXL's highly targeted skills and built-in guidance ensure students are supported, challenged, and motivated at every step of the way. If you want some more in-depth training on IXL, I encourage you to visit the PD section on the Inspiration tab or email us at pd@ixl.com. We will continue to answer as many questions as we can with the rest of our time today, but if you do have additional questions, please contact your account manager or the IXL help desk by emailing help@ixl.com. Now, for those of you who need proof of your attendance to today's webinar, you will receive an email tomorrow that will confirm that you attended this webinar. And due to the high number of participants, we were just not able to provide the certificates for attendance. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you do have additional questions, we'll look around for just a few minutes to see if we can get those questions answered.